Mr. Chair, in my remaining time, I would like to move the motion that I spoke into the record the last meeting of the Environment Committee regarding the Minister of Environment's announcement that there will be no more envelopes from the federal government to enlarge the road network, and asking that our committee condemn Minister Guilbeault's announcement. Now, I think it was perhaps the minister saying the quiet part out loud, and it obviously sent the Prime Minister's office into a communications frenzy to try to backtrack whether or not this government was in fact supporting all communities in their desire to increase the capacity of our roadway. Unfortunately, it seemed as though from the accidental announcement that this was intentional. It was a decision made by the Cabinet with the intention of, I suppose, trying to curb emissions, taking Canada back to the Stone Age, where we have no power, no vehicles, no new roads, and frankly, no wealth. And so obviously the intention is to, frankly, to move people out of their cars and onto buses or some sort of mass transit system, which is so tone deaf and out of touch with the vast majority of our nation's space. Now, I did take note that the rural member of parliament for Milton in 2021 did say on Twitter, say it with me, building highways doesn't fight climate change. So perhaps there is agreement across the caucus that in fact we should no longer be building highways and roads in this country. It seems to be a bit at odds with the member of parliament from Pontiac, however, who said, I am very proud to be able to rely on the governments of Canada and Quebec to support the widening of Pink Road as well as other initiatives. So it seems to be very unclear, but what I know is very clear, and I'm sure when we were all back in the riding last week, we had our mayors, our reeves, our city councils come up and say, what is going on in Ottawa? Where did the idea that we would no longer be funding roads come from? And if you didn't hear that, you're not telling the truth. And I'll give you a real-world example from my riding. Highway 3 in Manitoba is extremely busy. It is full of passenger vehicles, farmers, and a whole lot of trucks using it every single day to make sure that we have the goods where they need to be and people where they need to be. And the twinning of sections of this highway will reduce accidents, make sure that those goods get where they need to be on time. But with this Liberal government's commitment to not funding such projects, it sends a terrible message to all those that live and work in my riding and in rural Manitoba and rural Canada across. And my understanding is Minister Guilbeault, the government has not spoken to any provincial or municipal officials before taking this extremist position of not building any more roads. I think it was extremely reckless to, although accidentally, make a clear announcement of what the intention. And I know my colleagues across the way, the rural Liberal MP from Milton, from Guelph, from Aurora Oak Ridges, and from Pontiac, either they're sitting in gridlock near a city or they're traveling long distances. And so I can't fathom that there would be agreement from these members of parliament with this government's position, with this war on cars and commuters and the movement of goods across our country. Now, my hope here today is that we recognize that this was a poor decision, a poor announcement, and that we make the choice to condemn it. I don't think we should just simply adjourn debate, given the diversity of opinions from my Liberal colleagues on this matter. I hope that we can bring this to a vote. If we can have a debate on this, I'm more than happy to do, though. But rather than just adjourning debate and hiding these extremist positions of this radical environment minister, let's have a conversation about this and whether or not this country should be built up with the help of our federal government, or we'd rather go back to horses and buggies. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mazier.
Thank you, Chair. This motion basically, what the environment minister said, and I'll reread it, right? Here's the quote. Our government, which meaning the Liberal government, has made a decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure. Can you imagine that? A minister of the Crown. And his government actually backs it up. Justin Trudeau and the Liberals have backed that statement up. That is very disturbing. It's a direct attack on rural Canada. Let me be very clear. There's three policies that are hammering rural Canada. The carbon tax, increasing it 23% on April 1st, by increasing the carbon tax, the commissioners already said it, there's various agencies all across government have acknowledged that disproportionately rural Canadians are being impacted by the carbon tax. They know that. And this government keeps on marching on with increasing that carbon tax. That's one. The other one is banning gas-powered vehicles. That's another thing. This minister, that's the goal. 2035, here we're going to have no more gas-powered vehicles in Canada. It's going to create a whole shortage in of Canada. So then, that's one. That's the second one. And now we have a minister saying, not building any more roads and highways. So why not? So we got rural Canada here, and we know rural Canada needs highways to move around. We're a vast country. Vast country. We need to move our goods. We need it to make a living in Canada. We don't go anywhere without getting on a road in Canada. And this government wants to just get out of that. Stop producing any type of roads. It's absolutely insane. And this is why this radical environment minister should be stopped. This is why we're bringing this motion forward. This is why you should go along with us. Instead of talking against me, trying to drown me out and ignore me, you should be paying attention.
No, excuse me, Mr. Van Koeverden.
I know, it's your minister that said it.
Mr. Van Koeverden and Mr. Mazier, this is not a debate between the two of you. This is Mr. Mazier, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, just quick point of order.
Yes.
Just when people are shouting across because their microphones are not on, us online can't actually hear what's going on.
You're not in the back and forth. Anyway, go ahead, Mr. The back and forth on the heckling, you're not missing much, but go ahead, Mr. Mason.
I find it, and it's quite interesting. I know the member from the NDP. I know they have lots of rural ridings that they represent, and I know they get the impact of this statement, and they should be absolutely just appalled, just like I am as well, from that statement. And even just the notion that we're laughing about it. I can't understand why you're so not shocked about this. Like, people in rural Canada are scared. This is a trifecta of policies that are just absolutely punishing rural Canada. And you don't get it. You don't care.
Through the chair, please, Mr. Mazier, through the chair.
Anyways. I didn't say you. I said the Liberals.
Through the chair, please.
So I would encourage the Liberals, NDP, and Bloc to condemn this radical environment minister and stop his attack on rural Canada and support our motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Van Koeverden.
Debate is important, and I welcome debate. But what the Conservatives have consistently done on this committee is use their time, other questions, to distract from what we're doing, which is a study on freshwater. It's incredibly disrespectful to the people who have taken time out of their day. These are researchers, advocates, chiefs of nations, and they don't care. They would prefer to push their agenda, to talk over top of me, and to push their agenda based on misconceptions, misinformation, and taking people's words completely out of context. As Mr. Leslie's reading my tweet said, that was about one highway project in Ontario called the 413, which I stand against. Right? It was. You didn't read the whole tweet, Mr. Leslie. Secondly, the minister's quote was specific to the third link in Quebec City. My colleague, Mr. Deltel, knows about it intimately. He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Point of order.
I hope it's a point of order.
Yeah, does the member plan on shutting down debate? Pardon? Does the member plan on shutting down debate?
Well, that's, I don't know. It's
and
not
I've
a point of order.
spoken for less than half the amount of time that you did.
Okay, he's got Mr. Mazier. When you had the floor, I recognize that you had all the time you would want. Mr. Van Koeverden, continue, please.
This is a ridiculous motion. This is taking quotes that I've made and the minister's made completely out of context when referring to specific projects that, as MPs, we're supposed to be supportive or not supportive of specific projects. And no, I'm not going to shut down debate on it. I'm just going to vote against it. Proudly, because you keep using words like radical to describe our minister. I'm proud of our minister for being an environmentalist. Those four won't even say climate change in this committee. You won't acknowledge the impacts of climate change. So yeah, I'm proud to vote against this ridiculous motion.
But well, nobody's called for a vote. So,
Can't really call for a vote. Debate has to collapse.
well, there's nobody left.
Let's vote.
Okay, so let's vote on this.
Mr. Ali? Madame Chantal?
Je vote non.
Mr. Longfield?
Against.
Ms. Taylor-Roy? Mr. Van Koeverden?
I'm against.
Monsieur Datel?
Pour.
Mr. Cram?
In favor.
Mr. Leslie?
Favor.
Mr. Mazer?
In favor.
Madame Posey?
Contre.
Ms. Collins?
Against.
7 nays.
Okay.